Good morning, all. Good morning. Good to see you. All right. So I'm going to share a little personal journey with you guys. Years ago, about maybe 15, 16 years ago, when my kids were preteens, before I became a minister, I had a business of creating organic gift baskets for new moms. And I was always coming up with ideas about what to put in these baskets and creating little things and books and candles and that kind of thing to put in there. It was just a really creative period, you know. My imagination was kind of working on overdrive then. And I came up with this idea actually for school-age kids and preteens. And the idea was for a set of animal totems that represented positive qualities that kids could cultivate, positive qualities that they could cultivate within themselves. I was kind of into power animals at the time, and I thought, how can I introduce children to this idea? So I called it Animali Power Pals. And they were to come in a little box, an individual box that kids would choose randomly. It would be like, oh, this is the one meant for me. And they had like a little hook that you could hang on your backpack. This was a time when kids were hanging all kinds of things on their backpacks. Maybe they still do. They still do. Do you remember the lunch characters? They were like sandwiches with big googly eyes or bananas with big googly eyes, and they're hanging all over kids' backpacks and belt loops. And they are actually, I think there were some voodoo dolls that they were hanging to. So I thought this would be a great alternative, as it would help kids, identify with some positive qualities that they could activate within themselves. And so I got a local artist to sculpt some, and I think we have that first slide. Carmen Elliott, if anybody knows, she's a sculptor, right? So she came up with a whole set, and there's a great blue heron with self-esteem, and I think the fox was intelligence or something. Let's see the next one. With the whale, life, and the patience, the turtle, and then the next one. And there's the little box. And so that's what they would come in, and they were doing. So this was like a prototype, right? And and so I got my kids involved in modeling with them. Let's see that next one. Yeah, I got them. They modeled these things. Let's see the next one. Modeled playing with them and taking them out of the box. And then I got a whole group of their friends together and created this sort of sound stage and shot a promotional video of kids playing with them, discovering them, and I did a little thing. And so I took the whole thing and I wrote a proposal. Researched toy manufacturers and wrote a whole proposal and sent it all off to all the various toy companies. So I really kind of took this idea as far as one could take it. And I did all the spiritual work too, right? I did the daily affirmations and visualizations and clearing blocks exercises and aligning myself with the energy of it. I mean, like everything, I was doing it. And take a deep breath with me. One by one, letters of rejection, one after another. No, we can't do this. No. So I said, well, wait, I'm not going to give up on this. Let me just sort of tweak it. I know this is going to work. This is a great idea. Let me just tweak it. And I sort of changed it a little bit, and I resubmitted it to everybody. And I think it was about a year and a half into this endeavor, it dawned on me, this was not going to happen. This just was not. I was just going to have to surrender this. This was not going to happen. So not only hugely disappointing to face this, but also the shame that I felt of, spending so much time and pouring so much of my love into it and getting my kids involved in a project that ultimately failed, so I knew I was going to have to heal this. And so I was working with my spiritual coach, and I remember the day that I faced this, I was just crying my eyes out, and just, we were identifying what I was feeling, the disappointment and the shame and the regret and the feelings of being a failure and blame. I was like, blaming the universe. Come on, God, how could you give me an idea like this and then just, not support me in it, end it like this? So yeah, that had to heal, right? So it was a process. I'll share a little bit about it in a minute. But I had to let go. I had to surrender this. So I finally worked through it, and I put it all in a closet. I put all the pieces away, and I didn't think about it for about 7 years until we moved. And then I had to go through the closet like you do, right, with everything else. I saw it again, and I cried all over again. And I surrendered on an even deeper level, because I came to the realization that this was not my calling. There was something deeper calling me. And if this had happened the way I imagined it, I never would have finished my studies in seminary. I had just sort of gotten into the first year of seminary. I never would have finished it, never would have become a minister, never would have become the minister here, because the thing that I so desperately wanted, that I thought was it, didn't happen. I was able to graduate and be an ordained interfaith minister and become the co-minister here, and then finally go on the unity path and do that whole field licensing thing. Because of this, I reconnected with my purpose. I found my purpose. I found a deeper purpose. So that was it. That was the truth, the experience that I learned from that whole thing. And every now and then a picture would pop up on my computer. You know how it does. Randomly, you get a picture from your archives, like years ago, pops up. Occasionally, a picture that God just showed you, the kids holding these things would pop up, and I go, God, that was such a good idea. But I didn't have the same attachment. It wasn't the same, I wasn't so connected with it, so I let it go. And so it's been about 15 years now, and recently, I got a wild idea. And I think it came out of a conversation I had with Shannon, who is our youth ed director, who is really good at putting, I was trying to figure out a way to teach the 12 powers to kids. How can you teach these ideas that are really kind of grown up in a way that kids can understand it? And Shannon is brilliant at this, right? He's really good at taking these sophisticated concepts and putting them in language that kids can, we're just so blessed to have him. So that was what spurred me, and I was thinking about it. Excuse me, and then I thought, remember that idea that you had a long time ago for those animal characters? What about you turn them into animal totems that represent each of the 12 powers, right? Yeah. So I thought, okay, let me do this. I had a contact with the Unity CEO, Jim Blake, who's really kind of generous with his time. He comes to a lot of the fall retreats, and I had an opportunity to have some conversations. So I thought, let me just put together a presentation, and I got an artist to draw some of these ideas. Fabulous, fabulous artist. Unfortunately, she was in Italy, didn't speak a word of English. I found her on Etsy. We, Google Translate is how we, communicated. And she was difficult to find. She would leave for the. So I finally got it took a while, finally got all 12 of these. I identified what animal would go with which power. I think we have a slide. These are some of the drawings. Are so sweet, I think. They're just so fun and whimsical, but, really kind of. So I got those drawings, and I put together a slide deck, a whole presentation, and I finally got an appointment, to pitch this idea with him. And we got on the Zoom call, and here he is and he brought the product development person in. And so they're both doing it together. Excuse me. And I did, he allowed me to do the full presentation. And at the end of it, he said, "I love it. I love it." Your applause might be a little premature. It's not quite the full story. Anyway, he loved it. He said, "We don't have anything for this age range. This has been totally lacking is products for, young people. So, we've been exploring ways. This is perfect." He turns to the product development person and says, "Angie, go do the research on how much it would cost to do this. Victoria will get back to you." So, 4 months later, I finally hear from Angie, who calls me and says, "Deep breath. Victoria, take a deep breath. We love the idea, but it costs too much to do. You'd have to order way too many of these things, and we just could never recoup the cost. So sorry, but." Now here's where the spiritual principles, the spiritual practice, and spiritual growth comes in. I did not crumble. I immediately pivoted and said, "Okay, well, can you just give me some time and think about how else to imagine this in a way that might be affordable to do?" She said, "Fine, okay." So I spent the next few weeks, and I actually worked with Juliet, this is my daughter, on some of these ideas, and we put together a whole presentation of it. So one of the ideas, well, what about you print it on a flat piece of cardboard, and it's perforated, and the kids punch it out, and then they put it together on a stand and do a three-dimensional thing, Okay, what about a board game that features these 12 power animal characters? What about a children's book that features the characters, and you have a boy and girl who are go through this whole journey, and they have to find the animals and activate their powers in order to get through the challenge, right? What about affirmation cards for kids, in kid language? So I presented it. All were rejected except for one. Can you guess which one? They're all good, right? The affirmation cards. The affirmation cards for kids. We got a winner! Ding, 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 ding. 12 power affirmation cards. It's because they already do affirmation cards, it's easier for them to do this. So we've got this thing going now. And so I want to say it's been quite the process, because it was, I'm telling you, 8 months later. And once they said, "Okay, good," it was 8 months later, because I had to find the artist, who I found out later went on maternity leave and didn't, we needed to get permission for her she had to write it off that we would use it in this way. It took a long time. And then Unity was going through this whole merger experience with the ministry and the headquarters, and that took all their focus for months. So, it took a long time, but we finally got the agreement. It's finally moving forward, and I want to share with you a little preview. You are the first to see it. A little preview. So don't tell anybody yet. But we've got the first one is, this is Al, which is wisdom. So each of the power animals have 4 affirmations, right? Because there's different aspects to each of our powers. So there's 4. So and now it's a full deck, right? So let's see what one of the affirmations is. I use my power of wisdom to make good choices, right? Yeah. Oh, the kids, let's see the next one. I thought, okay, what animal would represent imagination? An octopus. Is there a more imaginative creature in the world? And then one of the affirmations, there's 4 of them. This is one. Picture my future with many good friends and having lots of fun. Right? So it's been quite the journey, but this is it. And, apparently it's being printed now. It's being printed now, and it's supposed to come out soon, but I know not to count on any kind of timing, right? That's one of the things I've learned. Let go of the timing. But I'll tell you, when it does come, our YFM kids will be the first to have them, let me tell you. And you're going to want to buy a set for all of the kids in your life, right? Yeah. Oh, God. So the lessons that I have learned, so many lessons. Excuse me, my throat is a little dry today. Let's bring up the card that has some of them. The first one, surrender. Surrendering my idea of what should be, the way I see it. Surrendering the ego, really letting go and listening to Spirit. Secondly is reconnecting with my true purpose. This is what revealed it. What greater good emerged because the thing I thought was it didn't happen. All right. Number 3, forgiveness. A lot of forgiveness work. Forgiveness of myself, forgiveness of the whole, toy industry, forgiveness of the universe, of God, right? I had to do all of this forgiveness work. For patience. Now that seems to be a reoccurring lesson in my life. Anybody else? Oh my God. No, not you. Everything happens when you want it. Yeah. So how do I keep the vision and let go of the timing, right? Just connect in my heart with the vision, let go of the timing. And then finally, flexibility, right? Pivoting to a different way of imagining it. In other words, what else could be? How else can we do this? So now it's your turn. What idea or dream or something you're really excited about that you had your heart set on, and then it was rejected, or it just never came to be? How do you feel when you think about that? Is there any lingering pain, or shame, or feelings of failure, or, blame, or regret? Those things eat away at us, right? And they can affect other areas of our lives. So it's worth our while to work on this. It's worth our while because, whatever way, however we do it, whether it's journaling or it's breath work or it's body work or it's forgiveness work or it's working with a spiritual coach, however we do it, we choose to do it, it's individual for everybody, and it could be all those things. Our soul is calling us to healing. It's calling us to heal this. This is kind of, what the opportunity is for. Big opportunity to heal this part. Okay, let's go. Let's heal. We want to get to a healthy place of surrendering our ego, our idea of how it should be. And then, and only then, can we see a new possibility. Can we see a new way of envisioning it, a new way of realizing it? And most importantly, realizing a higher purpose. Allowing the experience, the whole experience, to reveal a higher purpose. That's what we want to do. So if I could have the greeters pass out the handout now. I've created a handout, for you that you can take home. We don't have time to work on it together, but you can take it home and work through it. There's some prompts there to help you identify and kind of work through it. And actually, I will be offering an entire class workshop on this at our fall retreat in September at Lake Junaluska. So that's another, it's a Unity fall retreat. Lake Junaluska, going to that, it's another reason to sign up for that because it will be a good thing. Be a good thing to work on that. All right. So take this home, really carve out some time, carve out some quiet space to work through this. Allow your whole self to get into it and work through it. And in the meantime, let's say an affirmation together that would help anchor us in the healing of this. Just take a moment to look at that. So together, I release my attachment to how I think it should be and open to divine wisdom that reveals a higher possibility. When one door closes, my power of imagination helps me perceive new openings. And so it is. All right. Good morning, all.
Victoria here. I'm at Unity Center of Peace with our house band, Bright Matter.
Hello.
Yeah, and if this video has inspired you or empowered you or opened your heart, opened your consciousness, or even just given you hope, we ask that you support what we're doing here by making a donation today, going to unitychapelhill.org or clicking the link below. And we thank you.
Thank
you.